Sometimes people dread Mondays. Not here. Mondays mean new experiences, a new week, an empty slate, a clean canvas. That's what we've got in front of us. And plus, it's holidays. It's the most wonderful time of the year. So let's hop to it. Thank you for joining me. I'm Jeremy, and this is the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update. And boy, what an update we have. A collection of studio outtakes recorded by Bob Dylan in 1973 has surfaced in Europe thanks to a copyright loophole. So there's a 28-track collection. This was recorded during the Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid soundtrack sessions that were recorded way back in. I'm having a bad hair day. That's why you wear hats, folks. Wear a hat. Anyways, ignore my bad hair. This was the Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid soundtrack sessions that was recorded way back in 1973. Now, earlier this month, a limited number of copies became available in Europe, and they've already been listed online for hundreds of dollars. So here's where it gets interesting. The physical release occurred because of a use it or lose it provision in European copyright law, which places all recordings into the public domain if they aren't released 50 years after they were made. So because would have been 50 years in May since this was recorded, after 50 years, it's public domain. So now it's released. And so if you'd like to get that and pay hundreds of dollars for it, apparently you can. These 1973 sessions have been leaked before, which is how Ketch Secor of Old Crow Medicine Show found Dylan's unfinished recording of a song called Rock Me Mama, turning it into a completed track called Wagon Wheel. He released that in 2004. And then almost a decade later, Darius Rucker, a.k.a. Hootie, had a #1 country hit with that song. Dylan was credited on both versions as a co-writer. The original version of Rock Me Mama appears on the 50th anniversary collections in 1973. So because of this European copyright law, this has been released. And I don't know why Dylan has not released it. I don't know, but that's an interesting thing. Fascinating. We got some Motley Crue news. First, some good Motley Crue news, and then some bad Motley Crue news. Let's do the first Motley Crue news. And why is this good? Because I'm picking up what Nikki Sixx is laying down, because he's talking about my favorite punching bag, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Motley Crue is not a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but that doesn't mean bass guitarist Nikki Sixx doesn't have an opinion on it. Quote, I think people get too worked up about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you get in, that's cool. And if not, it's not a big deal. It's not some elite club that defines you. It's an award. None of us hopefully make music just for awards. Good on you, Nikki Sixx. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it tomorrow. Maybe before this episode ends. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a steaming pile of poop. It's a complete joke. Motley Crue has been eligible since 2006. They're not in. Green Day is in. Nina Simone is in. Motley Crue isn't. Bad Company isn't. Styx isn't. Foreigner isn't. Boston isn't. I would wipe my bottom with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, except my bottom's too good for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, here's some bad Motley Crue news. And guys, I have to say this. As a journalist, I'm supposed to stay impartial, but I can't. I can't sit back and not say something about this. Tommy Lee has always had the strongest dirtbag vibes of the Motley Crue camp. He's always struck me as a dirtbag, as a loser. And this just makes me, I mean, innocent until proven guilty, right? But this just reinforces this idea that Tommy Lee is a dirtbag, and he probably smells bad, okay? Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee faces accusations of sexual assault in a new lawsuit filed on Friday. This lady they refer to as Jane Doe accused Lee of forcibly groping, kissing. I'm not going to go into all the details. Okay, he assaulted her. Tried to force her to commit a sex act. All on a helicopter. Here's where it gets disturbing to me. Okay, so this lady knew this guy, David Martz, who frequented the bank where this lady worked, and they kind of got to be friends. He's a pilot. So she invited him to go on a sightseeing flight or fly to San Diego or something. So she was thinking that they were going to go on a helicopter ride. Well, then when she gets there, this David Martz guy says, instead, we're going to fly this guy, Tommy Lee, you know him from Motley Crue. We're going to fly him to LA and then I'll take you to San Diego. So they get on the plane or the helicopter. And once they take off, David Martz, the pilot, pulls out weed and booze, and he and Tommy start partaking of said weed and booze. This guy's a pilot flying a helicopter, by the way. And then during all of that, they pull her up in the front, and that's where the assault happens. And anyways, they drop Tommy off. I thought this was telling. Martz merely watched as this happened and flew the woman back to San Diego after dropping Lee in Van Nuys. They fell out of touch and only spoke once by phone before Martz died in a plane crash in 2015. Surprise? Are we surprised that he died in a plane crash based on his smoking weed and drinking booze while he's flying? Troubling. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Tommy Lee and all of this, but the he's just got a bad vibe. Sorry. Someone's got to say it. Frontiers Music. I've talked about Frontiers. They've welcomed powerhouse vocalist James Durbin back for a multi-album deal under the moniker Durbin. Now, do you remember James Durbin? I didn't watch this season because I think I only watched like season 1 of American Idol. But he apparently, was like a rock guy. Chris Daughtry, remember, he was a rock guy. He was pretty good. He had some amount of success after American Idol. But this guy, I guess, was good on American Idol, good enough to get a record label or a record deal. He's got a new single out today. It's called Screaming Steel. And I listened to it and I liked it, right? It, to me, very much Iron Maiden vibes musically. Sounds like Iron Maiden. His vocals, Paul Di'Anno, got some Paul Di'Anno vibes, some Rob Halford vibe. I like it. I was not familiar with this cat. Here's the thing with Frontiers Music, and I've talked about this. Frontiers continually puts out good stuff, but you never hear about it. You never hear about it because they don't promote it. So how are you supposed to know it's even out? Because they have no promotion arm. They put out these albums and then nothing happens. But there's great Revolution Saints. I've talked about Revolution Saints. They're awesome, but you'd never know about them. So Frontiers has good product, good artists, good music. If you're a fan of the classic rock, melodic rock, whatever you call it, Frontiers has a lot, but you never know about it because you have to go find it. Well, anyways, this new single, Screaming Steel, is the title track from an album of the same name, obviously, that will come out February 16th in 2024. I'm looking forward to it because this single today is really good. But even better, go back to his first album with Frontiers, which came out in 2021. It's called The Beast Awakens. It's awesome. It's awesome. If you like Paul Di'Anno Iron Maiden, if you like, Bruce Dickinson Iron Maiden, if you like Priest, if you like Dio, this is killer. I'm going to do some research because I don't know anything about who the musicians are, or anything. My friend Will checking in from Oklahoma. I don't know if you know the policy about Will on this update. Will is not allowed to say anything. Okay. He's, well, I'll just be honest. He knows things about me, right? So he is banned other than saying hi. He's allowed to say hi, but that's it. That's it. So thanks for checking in, Will. You can, by the way, email me. I'm telling Will, I'm telling anyone else, you can email me anytime, day or night, classicguitarrock@mail.com, classicguitarrock@mail.com. Will, thanks for checking in. So I was unaware of this Durbin kid, and it's really good. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to invite you to check him out. I looked up James Durbin on Spotify, and it has the new single, right? But the actual band is called Durbin, or the project is called Durbin. So if you look up Durbin, Durbin, then you see his Beast Awakens album and everything. So you can check it all out. I'm going to be listening to that today. In fact, as soon as this episode, as this update is over, I'll be listening to Durbin, because what I heard I really liked, and I want to hear more of that. So I'll be checking that out. Some bad news today. AC/DC's first drummer, Colin Burgess, has died at the age of 77. Now, he was the early days, right? Pre-Bon Scott days. So he played with the band when it was Angus and Malcolm. The bass player was Larry Von Crite, and the frontman was Dave Evans. So this is early days of AC/DC, but obviously a very important part of their history. Colin Burgess has died at the age of 77. So our condolences to him and his family. Let me share an album with you. Genesis is a band. It's kind of an acquired taste. Genesis is one of these bands that has had a long arc. Their early stuff with Peter Gabriel, to be honest, I could just never get into the Gabriel era. And many people, the diehards, that's the best era of Genesis. But for me, it never did anything to me. I thought personally, I liked them better after Gabriel, when Phil Collins moved into the role as a lead singer. And here's an interesting story about Phil Collins that a lot of people don't know. Phil Collins, of course, was the drummer of Genesis from the beginning. And they needed to find a replacement for Peter Gabriel. When Peter Gabriel left, they're trying to find a replacement, and Phil would sing the songs to these people. They might have even made like recordings of songs with Phil on them just to give people a guide vocal so they knew what they were looking. No intention of Phil being the singer, but he would kind of show people the song and sing them the version of the song for them to audition with, right? So Phil did that. And the band finally said, Phil, you're the best, of all these guys we've tried out, you sound the best. Why don't you just sing? And that was a real move for Phil Collins, because he didn't see himself as a front man at all. He was a drummer, he's a musician. And so that was a real step he had to make to now kind of move out front. And of course, at that point, then that's when you see Chester Thompson, not so much on this album yet, but as you see Genesis in the 80s and stuff, Phil Collins was drumming less and less with Genesis. They'd bring Chester in to play drums, not only in Genesis, but then in Phil's solo stuff as well. He became more a part of the lineup. But this is my favorite Genesis album. This is Wind and Wuthering. It came out in 76. I think, again, I'm not a Genesis file, so I might be wrong on some of my facts and figures. I think this is the second album with Phil Collins on lead vocals. And I like it. I really like it. I like this. Me personally, this and Duke are my favorite Genesis albums. And they're pretty different. Duke is more making that transition to more popular music. This is still a little more on the progressive side, but not so weird as the Peter Gabriel stuff. I mean, and that was the thing. Some of the Gabriel stuff was just weird. He's dressed up like a flower, and his head's like, he's got like a sideways mohawk. It didn't do it for me. But this is the perfect balance of nerdy, progressive, and yet still more accessible. Wind and Wuthering, 1976. This is one I found for $1 in fact, my friend Will, who's joining. Here's a story about Will and I. Me and Will and a couple of our friends, we used to go to this recycled records place. And the owner of this recycled records place was in a wheelchair. Nice guy. Can't remember his name, but a nice guy. And this happened a couple times. And we were there one time, and there was me and Will and my friend Jerry and my friend Jeff. After band practice, we had been jamming. We went to recycled records. Will was the only one that ever had money. So we'd always make up an excuse for Will to buy us dinner or something. So I think we went to get pizza at the place next to the recycled place, and Will paid for it, of course. And then we went into the recycled record place, and the guys, and Will, you can confirm if I'm telling the truth here. I think I'm telling the truth. We go into the recycled record store, and the guy there that owns the store, he said, hey, if you guys can help me out, I'll give you each a record. Okay, cool. He had us move some boxes. I mean, it took like 2 minutes. So we moved some stuff around for him, and then he let us each pick a record. Now, it wasn't this record that I picked out. I don't remember what the record was I picked out that day, but we all grabbed a record for helping the guy move boxes around at recycled records. And I missed those days buying the used records at the record store. But if you need your Genesis fix, if you want to dive into the Genesis rabbit hole, I think that's a good one to start with. Wind and Wuthering, because like I said, it's progressive-y, but it's not weird. Does that make sense? Check it out. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the update. Will, thank you for chiming in. And Will, just so you know, Will says, you have a great memory. Great times. Those were great times. Will, thanks for tuning in. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. And remember, you can be a sponsor for $1 a month. If you follow us on X, it's $1 a month. You won't even notice that, to be a subscriber on X. We'll do it all again tomorrow. We'll see you. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.